Okay, so a lot of my fans have been asking me a lot of questions during my comments. I listened. Leave Britney alone! All of you who are concerned about me, all is well. My family has been going through a lot of stress and anxiety lately, so I just needed time to deal.
Britney, like anyone else, should have the freedom to live the life that's most authentic to her.
Free Britney, a fan movement dedicated to freeing pop star Britney Spears from her controlling team, has taken on a new life in 2020. For over 10 years, Britney Spears has not been able to live a normal life. She can't drive a car or spend her own money. And the man responsible for this is her own father. Now, fans want to rescue Britney, but the truth is much more confusing and dark than you might think. We have the full kettle, and it's about to spill. Our story begins back in 2006. While there were some good things that happened during this time, Britney appeared to be on a downward spiral. In February and April, child services officials visited Britney twice after she was photographed holding her infant son in her lap as she drove, and after her son was accidentally dropped by a nanny. In May, Britney was photographed stumbling outside a New York City hotel while holding her infant son in one hand and a glass in the other. In June, Britney appeared on Dateline in a rambling interview, blaming the media's scrutiny for turning her into an emotional wreck. She was later criticized for sobbing, chewing gum, and her makeup. In November, 2 months after giving birth to her second son, Britney filed for divorce from her husband, Kevin Federline, citing irreconcilable differences. She allegedly told Kevin she was filing for divorce via text message the night before. In December, the New York Post reported that the Los Angeles Department of Children and Family Services had been trying to set up a meeting with Britney about her children's welfare after her public behavior. The Post also said her family was concerned with her partying and antics with the paparazzi. Also in December, Britney released a message for her fans after being photographed several times without wearing underwear and being criticized for her public behavior. Every move I make at this point has been magnified more than I expected, and I probably did take my newfound freedom a little too far. I look forward to new year, new music, and a new me. In January 2007, Britney posted another message for her fans. The media has criticized my every move and printed a skewed perception of who I really am as a human being. Behind every decision I have made in my public life, there always seems to be an apparent contradiction. I have come to terms with that, which is why I usually don't pay much attention to it. On February 13th, a gossip website posted an email that allegedly came from one of Britney's former assistants, saying Britney was on a downward spiral and that friends and family wanted her to get treatment. On February 16th, Britney was spotted shaving her own head and getting tattoos. On February 20th, Britney checked into a Los Angeles inpatient facility. The very next day, on February 21st, Britney checked out, then checked back into the facility. A month later, she finished the program and left the facility. In August, Britney's now ex-husband Kevin Federline sued her for full custody of their 2 sons. In September, Britney performed her new song Gimme at the VMAs. The performance was widely ridiculed. On September 17th, the judge in her custody battle against Kevin Federline ordered Britney to undergo random drug and alcohol testing twice a week. Both parents are ordered to refrain from drinking while caring for their kids and for 12 hours before seeing them, but only Britney is required to have drug and alcohol testing. A few days later, Britney is charged with misdemeanor counts of hit and run and driving without a license after she allegedly crashed into a parked car in August. On October 1st, Britney is ordered to surrender custody of her sons to her ex-husband. A few days later, a Los Angeles court commissioner grants her some visitation rights. On October 16th, Britney turned herself into a local police station and is booked on her previous misdemeanor charges. The next day, Britney is barred from visiting her kids until she complies with an undisclosed court order. On October 30th, Britney is granted 3 supervised visits per week with her sons. On December 4th, court documents revealed that child welfare investigators are looking into mistreatment and neglect allegations. An attorney for the Los Angeles County Department of Child and Family Services said the department was concerned about the children being left in Britney's care. It all came to a head late at night on January 3rd, 2008. Britney allegedly refused to turn her sons over to her ex-husband's bodyguard. Police were called to try and settle the dispute, and as the standoff continued, paparazzi swarmed her home. 4 hours later, in the early hours of January 4th, Britney was taken to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center for an evaluation, and paparazzi chased the ambulance as it drove away. According to a Los Angeles Police Department spokesperson, Britney appeared to be under the influence of an unknown substance. Later that day, a court commissioner granted full legal and physical custody of the children to Kevin Federline. Britney was then involuntarily committed to Cedars-Sinai's psychiatric ward under a 5150 hold, indicating that medical professionals believe she's a danger to herself and/or others, and that she required 24-hour supervision. Reports at the time initially claimed she was to be held for a minimum of 72 hours, but just over 24 hours after she was admitted, Britney was released from Cedars-Sinai. She was accompanied by Dr. Phil, who told Entertainment Tonight, "She was released moments before my arrival and was packing when I entered the room. We visited for about an hour before I walked with her to her car. My meeting with Britney and some family members this morning in her room at Cedars leaves me convinced more than ever that she is in dire need of both medical and psychological intervention." However, on January 9th, a Spears family spokesperson told the Today Show that Dr. Phil betrayed the family's trust by speaking with the media. On January 31st, Britney is taken to the hospital by ambulance, followed by over a dozen police officers and 2 helicopters. According to TMZ, this second psychiatric hold was coordinated with the LAPD, and they worked with Britney's team for weeks. The Los Angeles Times reported that Britney was taken to UCLA Medical Center to be placed on a mental evaluation hold. That same day, Britney's father, Jamie Spears, had conservator paperwork ready to be filed the next day, on February 1st. Before we go any further, I should explain what a conservatorship is. According to the California courts, a conservatorship is a court case where a judge appoints a responsible person or organization, called the conservator, to care for another adult, called the conservatee, who cannot care for himself or herself or manage his or her own finances. Basically, a conservator is a guardian, someone who has control over an incapacitated person's finances and health matters. In some cases, like Britney's, a conservator can have full legal control over someone's life. Britney's conservators are her father, Jamie Spears, and, until 2019, attorney Andrew Wallet. Together, they controlled Britney's fortune, and Jamie also allegedly negotiated her business deals. In California, there are 2 types of conservators: those who are responsible for the person's physical and mental well-being, and those who are responsible for the conservatee's finances. With her father and Andrew Wallet, Britney has both types. While Jamie initially petitioned the court for a temporary conservatorship, the paperwork he filed indicated he wanted a permanent conservatorship. As well, according to the 2007 California Probate Code, the proposed conservatee is required to have at least 5 days' notice before a hearing. In his paperwork, Jamie Spears petitioned the court to waive that notice requirement. The court granted that request. According to the New York Times, Jamie earns around $130,000 per year as a conservator, and he has the rent from his office space reimbursed by the court. In 2008, around the time the conservatorship was being implemented, Britney didn't seem happy with the arrangement. Britney hired a lawyer named Adam Streisand shortly after the conservatorship was granted, and Adam wrote an email to Jamie Spears' attorneys on February 2nd. Adam wrote, "I am told that you called Spears' former custody lawyer, Ron Rail, and told him that Britney has been adjudged incompetent. That is false, and you know it. You further stated that Mr. Rail has no right to see his client without approval from the temporary conservators. That is also false." He then accused the conservatorship of orchestrating nothing more than a hostile takeover of our client for improper purposes. On February 4th, Adam appeared in court and claimed that Britney wanted to fire her father as conservator. The court did not recognize Adam as Britney's counsel and ejected him from the courtroom. In court, Jamie's attorneys and Sam Ingham, a court-appointed investigator and later Britney's court-appointed attorney, claimed Britney did not have the mental capacity to hire her own attorney or understand the legal proceedings. Speaking with the New York Times in 2016, Adam said Britney told him she was not comfortable with her father controlling her finances. It was clear to me that she seemed a bit agitated, but my sense was that she did have the capacity to pick a lawyer and that she could make a rational decision. On February 6th, UCLA Medical Center released Britney early because doctors had stabilized her enough where they could not continue to hold her against her will. That same day, she got a ride from a member of the paparazzi to the Beverly Hills Hotel for a meeting with her then business manager and Adam Streisand. Around this time, Britney arranged for her friend to conference call attorney John Eardley to discuss fighting the conservatorship. In a recording of the call transcribed by Rolling Stone, Britney can be heard saying, "I basically just want my life back. I want to be able to drive my car. I want to be able to live in my house by myself. I want to be able to say who's going to be my security guard." Later in February, John Eardley tried to break Britney's conservatorship, filing paperwork in federal court claiming the conservatorship was violating Britney's civil rights. John revealed several interesting things about Britney's current situation in his filing. Mr. Spears has now moved into her house and is taking control of her financial assets, as well as her physical custody, all without the benefit of a hearing where Miss Spears would be present. Eardley said that Spears has never been on good terms with her father and said he was concerned for the emotional and physical safety of Britney under these circumstances. Eardley said Spears has been in a form of private confinement for nearly a month. Certainly, at this point, it is likely that circumstances have changed and it is time that the conservatee be brought into court for a hearing, where the court can evaluate her in person and hear testimony directly from her. When the Associated Press asked John about the last time he spoke with Britney, he said, "I talked to her a few days ago, and someone wrestled the phone away from her. I've not talked to her since then." And in a 2008 interview with MTV, Britney shared her feelings about the conservatorship. "I think it's too in control. If I wasn't under the restraints I'm under, I'd feel so liberated. There's no excitement, there's no passion. Even when you go to jail, you know there's the time when you're going to get out. But in this situation, it's never ending." So, how did the Free Britney movement begin? In 2009, Breathe Heavy, a fan site, unofficially began the fan campaign under the belief that Britney was being unfairly controlled under the conservatorship. Since the conservatorship began and in the following years, members of Britney's fan base and the Free Britney movement have believed that Britney became a victim of her team's control, focusing specifically on her father, Jamie. For years, fans have scrutinized every paparazzi photo and Instagram post, trying to see if Britney was leaving clues or sending out cries for help. Fans believed she did not want to be under the conservatorship. As for the fan site that sparked the movement, the site's owner, Jordan Miller, said he was in a months-long legal dispute with the conservatorship. In March 2009, Jordan said Jamie Spears' lawyers sent him a legal notice demanding he close down his fan site. They claimed Jordan was using Britney's likeness for profit through ads on the site. From Jordan's perspective, Jamie was using Britney's money and legal team to attack him and force him to stop talking about the conservatorship. Jordan also claimed that Jamie told him, "I will destroy your..." After the conservatorship was implemented and later officially made permanent in late 2008, Britney had a career resurgence. She released her sixth studio album, Circus, in December 2008, which received positive reviews. She also guest starred on an episode of the sitcom How I Met Your Mother, which was also well received. In the years since her conservatorship began, Britney's career has continued to do well. She released 3 more albums, went on tour, was a judge on The X Factor, and had a successful Las Vegas residency. However, there were still concerns brewing under the surface. In 2016, the New York Times released a report on the status of Britney's conservatorship. It detailed how much of Britney's life was handled, at least in part, by her conservators. Her most mundane purchases, from a drink at Starbucks to a song on iTunes, are tracked in court documents as part of the plan to safeguard the great fortune she has earned but does not ultimately control. Even though her conservators were credited with saving Britney's career after 2008, the report acknowledges the conservators seem to notice the improvements Britney has made over the years. After successfully fighting to keep her from testifying in at least 3 prior lawsuits, a probate judge had previously agreed that doing so could cause her irreparable harm. Ms. Spears' conservators allowed her to testify on Monday in a case filed against her by a former self-described manager. They agreed that giving such testimony is not likely to cause harm to her, according according to court papers. Since the conservatorship began, some restrictions have been eased. More far-reaching rollbacks were discussed several years ago but never occurred, according to a person who has been involved in Miss Spears' care who spoke on the condition of anonymity. People close to Britney described how Britney viewed the conservatorship after living in it for nearly 10 years. Miss Spears' friends and former associates said in interviews that, for her, the conservatorship has become an accepted fact of life, not a cage, but a protective bubble that allows her to worry about her true passions, music and her children. But the New York Times also pointed out an apparent flaw in the conservatorship system. Ultimately, some of the people who would help to decide whether to end it are the conservators and the doctors who now help oversee it, many of whom receive fees from Miss Spears' estate for their work on her behalf. And should Miss Spears ask to be released, her cause would probably be led by the man the court appointed to be her chief advocate, a lawyer, Samuel D. Ingham III. Mr. Ingham's role is, among other things, to ensure that the conservators do not loot her assets, abuse their power, or inappropriately restrict her freedom. There has been some debate in California over whether court-appointed lawyers do enough to advocate the rights of those under conservatorship. Just last year, the state's Senate Committee on Judiciary noted in a report, in theory, the court-appointed counsel should be arguing on the proposed conservatee's behalf for a less restrictive alternative to conservatorship whenever possible. Mr. Ingham has been awarded more than $2 million in fees for his work on Miss Spears' behalf since 2008. This is in addition to the $6.9 million paid from the estate to the conservators and other lawyers who have helped manage Miss Spears' affairs under the current arrangement. Miss Spears has never publicly questioned any of these payments, but critics of the process have, and things would come to a head in 2019. This is the end of part 1. In the next part, we'll be exploring Britney's turmoil in 2019. And why her fans believe she's ready to get out of her father's control. All that and more coming up in part 2. Again, please wait until the end of the series before forming your opinion on what happened.